Okay, so have you ever thought about how a 2,000-year-old story could perfectly solve our very modern crisis of digital scams and fake news? Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive into the ancient story of St. Thomas, yeah, the original Doubting Thomas, and discover how his experience actually provides a surprisingly perfect framework for surviving our crazy digital landscape of misinformation today. It's a really fascinating connection, so let's just jump right in.
We've all heard the famous idiom, right? Seeing is believing. I mean, it's practically baked into our psychology at this point. If we can see it with our own two eyes, we just assume it's got to be true. Well, today we are starting strong by completely challenging that exact premise. Because, as you'll see in the sources we're unpacking today, relying solely on our eyes has actually become a really dangerous trap.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the trap of seeing and some of the very real modern deceptions we're facing.
Just think about how often our eyes deceive us today. The source brings up some incredibly relatable and frankly hilarious anecdotes. I mean, how many of us have been completely scammed by a TikTok ad? Our source actually mentions someone ordering construction equipment online for a church, only to open the delivery box and find literal rocks. Or, oh, this is my personal favorite, ordering a deeply discounted $5 neck massager online because you just want to relax, and what actually shows up in the mail? A broken umbrella. And look, let's not even get started on deceptive dating profiles. You know the drill. Someone looks like a beauty queen online, but in reality, well, it's a completely different story. The whole point is, our eyes are constantly being tricked.
But guys, it gets so much more sophisticated than just receiving a broken umbrella in the mail. We are now dealing with the AI illusion. The source highlights some very specific warnings about artificial intelligence and deepfake videos. Recently, there were highly convincing AI-generated videos going around of Cardinal Rosales appearing to endorse and sell milk for the elderly, and another one of Cardinal Togli seemingly hawking rosaries online. People were genuinely messaging the church asking if these were real, and they absolutely weren't. AI is literally capable of completely bypassing our critical thinking by presenting us with perfectly fabricated visual evidence. Honestly, if you believe everything you see today, you're going to be scammed.
Which brings us to Section 2, the doubting apostle and his famous demand for proof. Because when you really think about it, Thomas's demand for physical proof kind of makes him the original champion of our modern "pics or it didn't happen" mindset. Let's walk through the actual chronological sequence of the gospel story to understand exactly how Thomas got this reputation. So on day 1, Jesus appears to the disciples after his resurrection. But crucially, Thomas is absent from the community. He's just not there. When he hears about it later that same day, he utterly rejects their testimony and demands physical proof. It actually isn't until day 8, a full week later, that Jesus returns, and this time he comes back specifically for Thomas. The absolutely crucial detail here is that Thomas missed out on that initial miracle simply because he had separated himself from the group.
Just listen to the absolute insistence in Thomas's famous ultimatum. He says, "Unless I see the mark of the nails and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." He is drawing a hard line in the sand here. He wants tangible, undeniable physical evidence. He's essentially demanding to be the ultimate fact-checker of his day.
Now, there is a truly vital distinction here that we need to understand. Doubting isn't inherently a bad thing. There's a healthy doubt, which basically means you want to be sure. You are actively seeking the truth. That is a good thing. But it morphs into harmful doubt when it becomes cynical, when you keep a closed mind even after you've experienced the truth. It's when you stubbornly cling to skepticism just for the sake of being a skeptic, refusing to open your mind.
And this brilliantly illustrates Section 3, how God handles doubt with patience and grace.
The way Jesus responds to Thomas's extreme skepticism is incredibly counterintuitive, and it teaches us so much. Look at the exact steps of his reaction in the story. First off, he did not scold or punish Thomas. He didn't belittle him for not believing. Second, he drew closer instead of pulling away. And third, he offered his wounds with immense patience, basically saying, "Okay, come here, Thomas, touch me." The lesson here is profound. When we question God or when our faith is weak, he doesn't distance himself or get angry. He actually moves closer to us.
But what about when we don't see or hear anything? The source shares some incredibly beautiful metaphors to explain God's apparent silence during our hardships. It's like the sun hidden behind clouds. The sun is still very much there, even if you can't see it right now. Or it's like a light switch temporarily turned off. The electricity still exists in the wires. But for sure, the most powerful image the speaker uses is this one. God's silence is like a parent hugging a crying child so tightly, so closely, that the parent can no longer even be seen by the child. When God seems totally silent or invisible in your life, it might just be because He is holding you closer than ever.
We really got to challenge this strict reliance we have on sight. Our source points out that we completely trust and experience intangible things every single day without ever actually seeing them. I mean, you can't see the wind, but you definitely feel it when the temperature drops. You can't see Wi-Fi, but you completely trust it to power this very explainer you're watching right now. You can't physically see human love, but you undoubtedly feel it. The presence of God is exactly the same, intangible for sure, but undeniably real and meant to be experienced.
Let's move on to Section 4, the power of community and why overcoming isolation is key.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured in this metaphor from the source. Like a weak candle flame, we must draw near to a stronger fire to burn bright again. When we isolate ourselves from our community, from the people who naturally uplift us, our own flame weakens, and that's when doubt creeps in. We become so much more susceptible to cynicism. And this is exactly why Thomas's initial absence made him so vulnerable in the first place. The absolute worst thing you can do when your faith or hope is feeling weak is to pull away. You have to draw near to a stronger fire to be reignited.
Which leads us to the real climax of the story. When Jesus finally appears to him, Thomas simply says, "My Lord and my God." And you know what is truly amazing about this moment? Thomas ultimately never even touched the wounds. He didn't poke his fingers into the nail marks like he literally swore he needed to. Why? Because a true encounter with the truth instantly dissolved all of his demands for physical evidence. The sheer presence of truth was enough to shatter his skepticism entirely.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is Section 5, believing before seeing. We are completely flipping the premise.
This flips our opening idea right on its head. Let's directly contrast these two mindsets. On one hand, you have the world's view, which screams, "See before believing. Show me the miracle, show me the job offer, show me the money first, and then I'll believe." But true faith says, "Believe, and then you will see." In the spiritual definition of faith, belief acts as the proactive catalyst. It's the engine that eventually produces the visible results. It doesn't wait around for proof, it actively creates the environment for proof to manifest.
And the source provides some highly practical, everyday examples to demonstrate what this faith in action looks like. I mean, if you truly believe you're going to lose weight, what do? You proactively exercise and you stop drinking soda. If you believe you will graduate, you study hard and actually attend your classes. If you believe you will get out of debt, you don't just hide under the covers, you get out of bed, hustle, and work hard. Adopting a mindset of belief naturally drives the physical actions that are absolutely necessary for success. Faith moves us, it gets us going.
So we arrive at our final question. What doubts do you need to surrender in order to finally see? Whether it's anxiety about your exams, your career, your relationships, or your health, I want to challenge you to really examine those doubts today. Stop waiting for perfect visual proof in a world full of broken umbrellas and AI deepfakes. Take that leap of faith, lean heavily into your community, and just see how believing first might completely change your reality. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and hey, keep seeking the truth.